The UN is estimating now nearly 3 million have fled the country, as we mentioned, the vast majority of those being women and children. And they've been forced to travel for hours on end under just these vulnerable and brutal circumstances. Joining us now for more on how the Russian invasion in Ukraine is impacting women and young girls is Deputy Executive Director of the UN's Women and the Assistant Secretary General for the United Nations, Asa Regner. Good to see you, Asa. Sad under these circumstances, but it's important that we talk about it when we're talking about so many women and children. And I also want to get to just the women's resistance groups inside Ukraine in just a minute. But Ukrainian women, they are leaving their homes and they're venturing on these just harrowing journeys to cross the border, you know, with the hope of safety. What do they need most right now? And what exactly have you been able to do to help them, to assist them?
Well, thank you so much for having me. And well, first of all, obviously, they need a stop to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and the violence has to stop. In this immediate situation where about 90% of the refugees are women and their children, they obviously need medicine, they need diapers, they need food, they need shelter, they need all the daily supplies that they haven't had, water and everything that we need on a daily basis. They also need police and authorities in the receiving countries who understand that trafficking might be a risk right now. It's important to understand that Ukrainian women, among these women, there are many highly educated women leaders, many women who are very strong in themselves. But there are also women in a more vulnerable situation, for example, Roma women, and those who have no means, and they might be lured into trafficking and other bad situations, and thus the receiving countries, both in and outside of the European Union, needs to understand that and support them the best they can. And the UN is also there to support. Yeah.
So tell me exactly what is being done, because the exploitation of these women and children is a tremendous concern right now.
Yeah, it's very important that humanitarian support from the UN and from the receiving countries is informed about the fact that the great majority of the refugees are women. For example, we know that it's calculated that around 80,000 women before the invasion were due to give birth within the coming 3 months, and many of them are obviously on the move. They need support. I think we can all identify the situation with the situation that they find themselves in. Of course, they need food, they need shelter, but they also need to livelihoods, and they need to see that there are people receiving them who understand that they need to be able to support themselves and their children, that they see that their children can go to school soon, and so on. And the UN and the EU member states, which are receiving, as well as Moldova, are trying to support the best we all can.
And are you able to help and support these women's rights organizations that we know exist inside Ukraine? They've been very active. They've been taking up arms, as well as just every ordinary women and moms. They've been doing it as well, unless they have fled the country. Many have stayed. But these women's rights organizations, they are taking up arms and fighting this fight. Are you able to communicate with them in any way and give them support?
We are in constant contact with the women's movement in Ukraine, and also myself personally. And I think it is enormously admirable to see that women who themselves risk their lives and the lives of their families are reaching out to other women to support them, to provide them with what they can. They, for example, map where are women living with disabilities, where are rural women, for example, who might not be able to move quickly. There are great numbers of elderly women compared to other situations where there are lots of refugees, for example. And so the women's movement is trying to support and defend and protect other women and girls it's such enormous leadership, and from the UN side and UN Women's side, we support them, and will try to support them even more with resources, with money, so that they continue their important protection of other women. They also, despite the immediate needs, have the capacity to also think about more robust peace processes coming up and women's situation in a peaceful Ukraine after this, and are trying to also create thinking around what happens next. And I think that all of us in contact with them want to do everything to support their very peaceful interventions right now in Ukraine and their advocacy, because we know that when women sit around the decision-making tables, societies actually become more sustainable and peaceful and robust and inclusive than otherwise.
Yes. Deputy Executive Director of the UN Women, also Assistant Secretary General for the UN, Asa Regner, appreciate your time, and may all women rise up.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.